So tell me, Ned, how did you get, well, let's not say get started in wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
but how did you first get like introduced to wrestling?
Introduced to wrestling would have been like, I mean, I was not allowed to watch wrestling as a kid. I think whatever, so I was born in 1990.
Well, you weren't allowed to watch it at all because it was like too violent at the time.
Yeah, it was
or what?
violent. It was profane. It was like,
Sure.
yeah, it was. If you met my mom and then like Stone Cold and The Rock, like that's a vibe mismatch. She was not into what was going on TV.
Oh, so so that's like Attitude Era, right?
Oh,
So
yeah, when I was 7, 8.
I grew up with wrestling like in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little more like character based and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was definitely like the image that they were putting out there was like we're nasty, edgy dudes. And, there was going to be none of that for precocious little baby Ned. But I think I remember watching it at a friend's house and seeing, I don't even know who I would have seen, but that was like, I would catch little snippets of it from time to time. And so when I really started like watching it myself, like watching WWE, like Cena was the face of the place by then. And I was probably 15 years old.
Sure.
Like 2005. I remember Eric Bischoff was on there and I played a Raw video game and I kind of like came and went with it for a few years. I'd like tune in, I'd tune out. I liked the general spirit of it. I always thought about trying to do a wrestling show at my high school.
Okay. Sure.
But then I didn't get organized up on it. I was a theater kid though. So there's a lot of overlap there. There's a real sort of energy match. I
was going to say like, so you were in that whole Attitude Era.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you watch WCW at all because prior to that was like the whole like NWO stuff. They're hitting each other with baseball bats and like.
Yeah, I'm sure that all of that stuff was not, and that was like way above my level. I'm sure if my mom ever like caught that while surfing channels, she'd be like, "Oh, that's so."
Yeah, DX and all. I probably wouldn't let you watch either.
Yeah, right. You wouldn't watch a 7-year-old kid watch DX. I didn't really know. No, I didn't know anything outside of WWE for years until years and years after that. I'm only kind of now starting to like get my history on all the other promotions that, that WWE successfully squashed in that. And I read a great book last year called, it's embarrassing now. I'm going to forget because it was by David Shoemaker. And I think it was just called Squared Circle or Inside the Squared Circle or something.
Okay.
I'm going to look this up. The Squared Circle, Life, Death, and Professional Wrestling by David Shoemaker. And it's a history. It's just sort of like the 20th century in pro wrestling. And so I learned a little bit more about, the sort of like actually the very original, the origins of it, about the whole like Bruno Sammartino, Luthez, Vern Gagne sort of era, and then the territorial era, and then like the NWA, and then the sort of consolidation and the wars that went on there, and got a little bit more of that context. But for me, I was definitely on like an out period when I guess this would have been 2016, a friend was like, come with me to a local pro wrestling show, and there's a lot of people who've only ever seen WWE and they had no idea there's like such a thing as local pro wrestling.
Right.
So
right.
I went to an AAW show in Chicago, all American wrestling.
Okay.
It kind of blew my mind, dude. I was seeing all kinds of people, like Eddie Kingston was on that show. Shane Strickland, he was called at the time, now Swerve Strickland. Keith Lee was on that. The Lucha Bros were on that show. Trevor Lee. A lot of people who kind of have gotten like a TV shot since then, but were like working these Chicago. The Rascals were on that show. Myron Reed, I bought a T-shirt from at that show. Dude, he wrestled ACH. I thought Myron Reed I thought he was the coolest. And I was just a fan at that time, So, but then that sort of started my indie wrestling like fandom years, which went on for a little while until I started training in 2022.
So what led you to say, "Oh, I'm gonna go to find a training school. I'm gonna go be a referee." Like what led you to do that?
I guess I skipped a step in here where I was in a show in college called WrestlePocalypse, and it was like kind of like a wrestling comedy show. Like it wasn't like workers. It was like college comedians, improv types, people, and they would choreograph all the matches in advance, and there would be these larger than life characters, and like it was really spoofy. Like there was one match was between like Joseph Stalin versus Franklin D. Roosevelt versus Adolf Hipster. Like that was a match that I remember. So it was a lot of like it's basically like all like comedy stuff like that. And I played the referee in that show.
Okay.
And so I refereed like all 7 matches, and they did it every year on like right at the end of the year. And I think what I really liked about playing the referee on that show is something that stuck with me, which is that you get to work every single match, or you get to work with a bunch of different matches. You get to basically support and work with all these different wrestlers. And you don't have to be like, taking major bumps. And I was like, this kind of works for me. So then when I saw actual indie wrestling, I was like, I wonder if I could, like, who are these referees? Like, they're probably just guys like me. Like, I wonder if I could get in there. And I knew one of them, a guy by the name of Nate Speckman, and he lives in the Northeast now, but he was a great Chicago ref for a while. And he was like, you should give it a shot. And I think I actually tweeted at a bunch of Chicago promotions and was like, where can you learn how to be a referee? And AAW tagged Freelance and said,
okay.
Freelance. So I emailed freelancewrestling@gmail.com. I was messaging with Matt Nix at that moment, although I didn't know it. And this was 2020. I said, this is February 2020. I said, I'd like to learn how to be a pro wrestling referee. And they said, yeah, this is the schedule. This is how it works. And I'm like, awesome. So like, I'm doing a play right now, but in April, I'm going to start. So that obviously got derailed. That was April of 2020. I did not go train. Nobody was doing shit then. I just stayed in my house for a year and, but eventually 2022, I circled back and was like, this time I actually want to do it. And so I started training at the Freelance Academy, and there isn't really there's not a separate class or anything for referees. You just do the same drills everyone else does. You learn how to lock up. You do the star drills. You do.
Oh, so you're learning the whole thing. You're learning you're learning how to work.
You learn how to work. Exactly.
Nice. All right.
I'm not saying that I'm ready to go out there and even do a 5-minute match. Like I obviously I didn't develop those skills all the way,
but you're learning the basics.
Exactly. Learn the basics. And then when they would put on a show, so Freelance in Chicago, they run an academy and they run a promotion. So when they would do a show, the very first show, Isaias, who was my kind of head trainer, Isaias Velasquez, he's like, go buy a ref shirt and black pants and bring them. And I was like, he probably just means like just in case. But that show was a 30 person rumble, a battle royal. They said, all right, you're out there. Go out there. You're going to be one of the 4 refs. And Battle Royal is a great thing because it puts you in front of the audience and you get used to being like, I'm in the stripes. I'm carrying the energy. I'm getting the roaring crowd. But really, nothing hinges on me at all. I'm kind of like set dressing. You just say, both feet touch the ground. You're out of there.
Yeah.
And then every show after that, they would put me on a pre-show match, like a 5-minute.
Okay.
5-minute little pre-show match with students, and all the other matches, I would stand up in the balcony, and whichever referee wasn't in there would talk to me. So Sam Meadowood and Perch were the 2 guys who were really mentoring me at those shows, along with Derek Martha was on there at least once. Adam Galt did one of those. And then Andy Long is a longtime Chicago referee who would also meet with me at the school in these kind of one-on-one sessions. And he would just like talk for 3 hours and I would like write it all down. I won't grab up my notebook, but I got like pages and pages of notes of like just him talking about the world of refereeing. And that was kind of my like, I did about 8 months of like apprenticing before Isaiah surprised me one night. He's like, all right, Ned, you got the pre-show. You got Laney Luck versus Kenzie Page and Craig Mitchell versus Coda Hernandez. And I was like, oh, shit, I just got promoted to the main card. I'm a pro referee now.
That's how it goes. That's how it works.
That's how it goes. Yeah, totally.
That's awesome that you mentioned it, because a lot of it, even just as a performer, as a wrestler, most of it is just listening, watching, that's how you learn. Is to keep seeing what everybody else is doing, and just repetitive, like not just go through the drills and stuff and go through the motions, but to just sit and watch and listen and learn as much as possible.
Totally. Yeah. So that whole 8 months that I'm doing it, basically like every show, I am up there watching the referees the whole show, and sometimes being like, why did he do that, or like what's that like hand gesture mean, or like how long like what happens if they don't get back in the ring by like 10, how does he cover, that sort of thing. So it's a lot of watching and learning and asking, and yeah, you gotta this whole industry, you gotta do a lot of watching and learning, and then you also gotta get like thrown in and just see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean the ref really controls the whole match in a way. Like, sure, like the two guys are going to call their match out there or whatever, but something happens, guys get lost. The ref has to know. The ref can tell the other, communicate back and forth between the guys, and tell them like, hey, the crowd's dying, you better go home. You're going too long. The ref keeps you on time.
Totally.
So a lot of importance to the referee, and not just like a prop, you know what I mean? But
absolutely.
But yeah, like everybody's part in the show like means something, So yeah. It's really important.
Yeah, and it's like your two wrestlers or your four wrestlers or your however many have always they've got this story of constant animosity that they've got to tell between each other, and I'm like one person they could like turn to and ask a question to, or give a hint to. And I've had people be like, they've sent messages through me to the other guy.
See, I always like to interact with the ref and use the ref, and
I love
it. I used to like always play off the ref and use them, like get mad at the ref, use them for heat and all this stuff.
Dude, Andy, I was watching today a video of you working Moondog before a JWA show that I took my phone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kevin Wood slides in there to count, and he goes 1, 2, and you just turn at him and you give him the clap, clap, clap. Like, come on, man, count.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you got to use the ref, man. You got to interact with them because they're part of the show too. And if even like Woods, like on some of the shows, like even like the refs are getting huge. You guys are getting huge pops out there from the crowd, Yeah. But the more you interact with the ref and get them on your side, or whatever, the crowd like gets behind the refs. They get behind all the characters,
Yeah.
So it's fun.
I missed a JWA show sometime last year. I think you had maybe no referees there. And
that was the best one.
You made Storyteller. Very mean. No. But so Storyteller had to like work all the shows as referees. And I came back the next show, and all these fans, I didn't know that anybody there in the audience knew who I was by face or name or anything like that. I was like, and then the next show I come back after that one, and I'm standing in my normal, civilian clothes, and people are sort of filing in. They're like, "Oh, glad to see you back here again. We need some real referees back in this place."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow, I feel sort of seen and valued here, which is nice."
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get in those situations where you're short a ref. I've seen it a bunch of times, man. And usually, like when you're first starting out wrestling, anyways, you know, you might have to ref, you might have to, whatever you got to do to help out, right? It's not just like set up the ring, but sometimes you got to ref, or sometimes you got to work concessions, or sometimes you're selling tickets at the door. Like, you know, everybody's pitching in, doing something, you know?
I've worked shows for you where Jack Valor was refereeing. He's now, you know, a very successful high-flying wrestler, but he was a referee. There was a certain masked wrestler who was refereeing. I won't blow up his spot, but
yeah, but everybody's you might need to turn to ref, or, you know, I think like if you go to a show, regardless of you know, what you intended to do that night, you should be willing to do anything. And sometimes, like, you know, something happens. You know, somebody gets in a car accident, you know, anything. It doesn't matter. Somebody gets sick. You know, plans change at the last minute, and somebody's got to like jump in and fill a spot, you know?
Totally.
And like, I've reffed so many times. I always thought it was fun. Like, I always had fun reffing here and there, you know?
Dude, I have a blast. One of my things that I think to myself is, I'm like, the hardest part of refereeing for me is not smiling, because I'm enjoying myself so much. I love doing it. And people do things in the ring that just absolutely crack me up. But I got to be like the stone-faced voice of authority up there. So
I think it's interesting that you said, you know, you went on like Twitter and messaged a bunch of wrestling places when you were first starting. That's so huge. Like, I've been telling guys for, dude, like probably well over like 10 years to like get on Twitter, get a Twitter account, start networking with people. And like, some people would just like, you know, no, they're like, depending on when you were born or what area you grew up in, you're like an Instagram only person, or you're just on Facebook, or you know, and you're kind of maybe not interested in Twitter. But dude, like, that's where you network. Everyone's out there, you know?
I mean, dude, Twitter bums me out sometimes. Sometimes you get on there, the vibes are awful, but there's no doubt, like, that seems to be the network where the wrestling people are. It's certainly where I think the promoters are. I mean, at least I could say this. You and I connected because of Twitter. That's where you reached out to me.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so like, I was on Twitter, and I follow, like, I've always followed like a lot of the guys like Matt Nix and like Freelance, and like, cause you know, I would book guys from a lot of different promotions, you know?
Totally.
And I would see, especially from the Freelance Academy, they would post, you know, stuff like, oh, this person's got a match. Like, they do like the Academy shows, you know? And I'd see them like start posting people's names and stuff. And then I'd see clips and footage and stuff on the accounts. And I think, it was like Reagan Liddell or somebody like, tagged you in a post or something.
Sure.
And it was like, oh, you got to book Ned or whatever, something like that. And I was like, who's this Ned guy? I got to check this out. And then
I'm a huge fan of hers. She's a fan of mine. So that's fun.
Yeah, it was so cool. But like everybody I met, you know, from there has been awesome, and, you know, great to work with and stuff. And, like, no, I just remember reaching out. Yeah. On Twitter. I think I DM'd you on Twitter. Like, what are you doing this day?
Yeah.
I need a ref.
Yeah, dude. Rest is history. And that was probably something like 16 months ago. And then I've done a handful of great JWA shows since then, which I love, man.
Yeah, that was great. And it's just been a lot of fun. And like, so let me ask you this. So you went to Freelance. What other promotions are you working at right now?
Freelance is the one that I consider the home promotion. In my first year, I was just doing that. Trying to think some of the other like first ones to give me a chance. I can tell you that some of the like, probably the big three other ones that have been runners for me have been Second Wrestling, which is kind of like North Chicagoland, you know, Evanston, Arlington Heights, Palatine, that kind of zone, run by Rabbi Jeremy Fine, who's a shoot rabbi. There is Black Label Pro, which I think is on hiatus right now, but I've gotten to do a lot of work with Black Label Pro, which was great. They booked some amazing high-profile talent. I got super kicked by Dango, formerly Fandango, in a Black Label Pro ring.
Nice.
Got a lot of great reps there. I worked with Gangrel. But yeah, a lot of reps there. And then JWA has become, you know, sort of my home across the Wisconsin border, which has been really nice. So
cool. I think that's great, man. Like, Like, dude, like when I went to that, that 10th anniversary, like freelance show.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I remember I was standing there and like the crowd there was like, it was an awesome crowd. Like,
they call them the freelance faithful, and it's like,
to me, and I don't know if you've ever been to a Mondo Lucha show in Milwaukee at all.
Oh, I'm dying to, because they seem awesome.
But like, let me tell you, like the freelance crowd, like that was the same kind of vibe. Like I felt the same kind of vibe. So I'm like, that is so cool. Like it was so awesome. But like the pop you got when you just came out to, I think it was the first match. And you got like a huge pop when you came out. I was like, that's awesome.
That's fun.
Like, I just thought that was like the greatest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, those have been kind of like those 3 plus freelance are kind of like the big 4 for me. Freelance Underground, when it was a little more active, I've done a lot with those, and I've like meeting other places like Iron Spirit Pro, Defiant, Third Coast, Chicago Style, Zawa. It's cool. A lot of places are down to give you a shot, and as a referee, like there's room for you. So I've definitely played for like all different kinds of crowds in all different kinds of places, and I really enjoy that aspect of it a lot.
So what I noticed, I know, like, I thought this was really cool. I thought it was really cool that you had a website. Because not a lot of people. So I'm a big website guy.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people, like, I'm not sure why, but not a lot of people have websites now. They just kind of rely on just different social media networks,
Well, it's a pain, and it's a learning curve to make a website. I'll tell you that it does come, because I've got these like, I work in wrestling, but I also have these I worked in theater for a long time, and then film is kind of one of my main hustles right now. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a writer, I'm a director, and I work as a script supervisor sometimes when I can get gig work.
And how did you get into that? I was curious because, so like you said you did like some plays and stuff, and then were you always kind of interested in film, or how did you get into?
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of, I love movies. I always love movies, but I wasn't for a while thinking about it as a career. It's funny that like what caused me to like kind of jump over into it was making music videos, because I had friends in bands, and I love music videos. I always have. I used to watch them on this like Yahoo Music thing. I remember like being in middle school, like just clicking through like Red Hot Chili Peppers music videos and things like that. I was like, this is the shit. I think they're really like a fun, expansive way of like filmmaking. So I would like hit up these friends in bands and be like, can I make a video for you guys? And I was talking to other people who I basically knew from theater and was like, do you have a camera? Let's do that. So if you look at my like YouTube, a lot of it is music videos, and I still am really into making music videos. And that was kind of like my first experience, like directing for film. And, when I say directing, like at that level, it's like you're organizing, you're doing everything. You're like, oh, I got this like old pizza costume left over from a thing, like in my basement. I'll get that up. I'm going to go to Costco and pick up a bunch of snack bars, so we have something to snack on. Like, I'm going to clear out my kitchen table and we're going to shoot in my kitchen, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I started to do a little bit more like narrative stuff later on, like as in like, dialogue, fictional characters and storylines kind of things. I made a Western in 2020, a little short Western. I've not directed a feature length movie, like a full like 90-minute thing. And that is it's kind of like a goal of mine for the next like 5 years. I'd love to do that, even if it's indie as fuck. And I feel like, for me, the sort of like one of the big looming questions, and I actually have like all these different like scripts in like different stages of development in my head. Like, how am I going to bring the world of indie wrestling and a film together? Because I'm like, that's so juicy, and I have a unique perspective, I think, on it. But yeah, it was like it started as a hobby, just literally just like I want to do stuff for fun with friends. And, you pick things up here and there, you offer to PA, like, I mean, all these industries like theater, film, wrestling, it's all the same thing. It's like, you got to come in, have no ego, be willing to do the least glamorous of the jobs, have a good attitude, introduce yourself to people, represent yourself well, let people know what kind of opportunities you're looking for. And, feel like, oh, I'm getting nowhere fast, but still like take the opportunities as they show up. Like it's literally the same in all of those industries. So, I've been like moving along all of them in different rates and different paths, but I do feel like that's a major, there's all these parallels. So yeah, I'm basically doing it for film. I feel like at the same time as I'm figuring out wrestling.
Yeah, I think like a good attitude to have, and I've always had, is just show up, don't expect anything, and if something good will come out of it, when it's time. And then I think that like it makes you like appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of just, oh, I'm showing up, doing my thing, pay me, I'll see you next weekend. It's just I think like if you can get in on something on the ground level and then watch that grow and become something more, like it just, I don't know, like regardless if like you're making money at it or not, it just like means something more at the end of the day, I feel like,
Yeah. Dude, it's all this balancing act of like, like you got to make enough money to live, but you also like, at least in these like sort of, I'm going to call them all artistic industries, if you also sometimes need to take things that aren't going to pay you, a so-and-so wage just so you can get the experience doing them. But then you can't do that forever. And like that balance of like, you got to advocate hard for yourself, but you also can't walk in like you're entitled to anything because everybody wants those same opportunities, and an entitled attitude is just going to like get you nowhere. So
yeah, I always
thread in the needle,
I always thought like, all right, like my whole goal was like, all right, what job can I get? And like my whole thing, like when I first started, before I even started training, was like, let me get a job, maybe like some insurance or something, but let me get a job with the hours to where after I'm done working, I can go do wrestling whenever I want.
Cool.
Like I knew I wanted weekends free. I knew I wanted like nights free to go train.
That's when you were working, when you were like when you were wrestling.
When I was first starting. Yeah.
Cool.
I like had to find, I think I worked like third shift for a little while, like kind of like an every other day third shift. So like the opposite days were, I had them all scheduled around wrestling training. So like I knew, and then I like quickly switched to a first shift, like a Monday through Friday, so that I could specifically get weekends free for wrestling.
Yeah.
And nights free to go train, and I never stopped.
Yeah.
I just kept doing it.
Just kind of fitting it in. Yeah, I was, we're unlikely to make our fortune in wrestling, but, I don't know anybody who's doing it just being like, this is a money-making scheme for me. You'd have to be kind of foolhardy, I think.
I think there are some people that think that, but what I feel like is that any experience that you get through wrestling or, filmmaking or like any of that stuff is it's going to open a door to something else. So like anytime I ever got a new job or a promotion, like anything like that, like my professional career, like wrestling has opened a door in some way. It's helped in some way, whether it be a conversation starter or, hey, somebody saw all the content and stuff I was posting online or like, oh, I was doing this for YouTube or this website, behind the scenes stuff. And people are like, can you do that for my stuff?
Cool.
Like, I see what you're doing. Hey, can you work on my project? That kind of thing like that. So like, it definitely opens doors. Like, regardless. So like you're making money later. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It can totally be like the stepladder to all these totally unexpected things that will come out of it. And it also like, it is to me just a major source of satisfaction in and of itself. And, I'm like, that's what we're doing here on planet Earth, is trying to find things that, fill your soul and bring you a sense of like, I'm in the right place,
It's fun.
It's fun, man.
It's awesome. But that's what I thought, and so like when I went to your website, I was like, oh my God, like I saw like you're doing film stuff, podcasting, you're involved in,
yeah.
Well, you're involved in all these other things. You have all these other interests, not just Ned's the referee. You know what I mean?
Sure I do. Yeah.
I'm like, that's awesome. But I liked how you used your website to like encompass all those different things, you know?
Trying to. I mean, they're all part of me, you know? So I hope with the website I can like kind of help tell the story of like, yeah, these are all different parts to me. They do, as you say, like one thing teaches me how to do the next thing. You know, they all fit together.
Well, yeah, that's like, you know, I the same thing. Like I think like I've always had my website, you know, but it wasn't always like what it is now. Yeah. Like I think at first it was just to promote that I'm wrestling on shows and like, here's all the dates and places you can find me, you know? And then it's evolved to like, I have other interests. Like I like podcasting. I like, you know, making like YouTube videos, and I like, you know, different blog posts or talking about like collectibles or tech gadgets. Like I'm big into tech gadgets and stuff like that. So like my website now like encompasses all of those things.
Is your website wrestlingandy.com?
It is.
I'm looking at it right now.
That's where I'm at.
This is great, dude.
But I'm a big like, so like, you know, outside of wrestling, like that's what I do is I do search engine optimization and work on websites. So like I've been able to just with my knowledge because I kind of learned wrestling and search engine optimization parallel at the same time for like, that's what I've been doing for like the last 20 some years. Right.
Yeah.
And, but what's really cool is when I'm learning those other skills, I'm like, how can I take those skills that I'm learning for website and promotions and social media marketing and all that stuff? And how can I give those skills to pro wrestling?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I've been able to use them, you know, crisscross, you know,
the two worlds. Sometimes I feel this insecurity sometimes when I think back to this like idea I have of like, it used to be you just get your job and do your job 9 to 5, and then you'd come home and that job would buy you a house and a family and
sure,
and like, and I'm like, here I am, it's the 2020s. I'm this millennial with like 8 different jobs. You know, I wait tables, I do this, that, and the other thing. Like, how's it all? Like, it used to give me, when I was in my 20s, it used to give me more anxiety of like, am I totally failing to like pick a lane and stay in it? And I don't know. I think it's a good thing to question myself on, but I also think like I kind of got this holistic view of like, it all helps build the person that you are. And
yeah, you're picking up different skills, you know, along the way. And then that's eventually going to lead to whatever it is you end up doing. Right. But it's cool because like, you're trying a bunch of different things to like figure out what you like. Like for example, like I first went to, you know, college for just, I'm to tell you, boring IT career, right?
Yeah.
And I worked in IT for like 5 years, and it like, I didn't like it. It sucked. I was just looking at servers all day, you know?
Yeah.
And but I always had this interest, like, and going through when I was in college, this one guy was like, oh, hey, he's like, oh, I'm making side money and making websites for people. And at the time that was like not a thing. And I was like, what are you talking about?
That was a very specialized.
Yeah. Like that was all new. And the guy was like, oh, if you want, I'll come over and show you everything I know about it, you know? Yeah. And that conversation sparked my interest into website stuff. So yeah, I did the IT thing for a few years. But then as soon as I could jump to a spot to like be working on websites, I did that. And then that snowballed into, I learned a bunch of stuff about digital marketing and then social media was real new at that time. And then that led into like podcasts and YouTube, like it all just kind of spirals and as things change, you know.
And are you like a programmer? Like, can you get crunchy with HTML and stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah,
I can above my head, man. I'm all user friendly. I'm on Squarespace. I'm like click, drag, and drop. Like, I got mad respect for what you do.
Squarespace is cool, man. I've used Squarespace in the past too. Like, and that's a platform that's like super easy for somebody to get started and like just like quickly have a website like tomorrow.
Well, let me tell you, dude, if I'm using it, I promise it is super easy to get started.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great. And like I remember when I used them for a little while, like their support was really awesome. Like everything just worked. Like even if like you wanted to sell something, it's all set up to just like take payments and stuff, you know?
Yeah,
like it's super easy. It's awesome. And it's like everything's like desktop and mobile, like everything's responsive, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a great, but it's a great, I just think it's great to, just for like, you know, guys like getting people to find them online, like just to have a website for Google searches and stuff like that. Like that's how a lot of people find you, is a Google search, you know?
I think more wrestlers could probably get into it and could probably make like a, you know, just a basic ass Squarespace, just like splash page where they can find, I mean, like, I think every promoter, I'm not a promoter, you know more about this, but if I could venture to guess, like if you Google a guy and you found a website and you're like, here's a highlight reel, here's a great match, here's a resume, you know, like here's their contact information. That's a huge advantage right there that person has.
Yeah, like that's the whole reason I built the roster section on the website, is that so everybody had like a landing page with all their contact information, their social media, a little bit about them, you know, links to all their stuff. Yeah. And when you search for them, they come right up, you know.
That's great.
And that's all it needs to be. But you have to be out there, you know. It's hard. It's hard when you're just like, oh, hey, you're just telling people at a show, I don't know, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, find me on Twitter, you know. I was like, no, here, go to my website. It has all the links to all my stuff. Like, you know, my merch, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Dude, I'm looking at the roster page now. Stuff's good, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm sympathetic. Like, the thing is, something that you got to give it up about wrestlers, like, they're all juggling so many things, you know?
Oh, it's crazy, you know, what everybody has going on, man. It's but it's cool. Like, it's cool to find out what they're really into, you know, like what do they do outside of wrestling? You know, I love it, man.
They really run the gamut. You know, I'm just looking at the roster. I'm like, okay, he works at a hardware store. Like he's in IT. That guy's a notary public. You know, you could probably figure out all the people I'm talking about, but yeah, it's like people really have come from all over the place to be in that locker room.
And I'll tell you, like, there was a time where, and I still now, dude, to this day, like 20 years later, like, I don't even know some people's like real names that I wrestled, like, because everybody like back then had like a gimmick name, you know, everybody contacted each other through AOL Instant Messenger, and that's how you got booked. Totally. You know, and like, but now I feel like social media is more like use your real name, like, all that stuff, you know. Where I mean, I'm sure some people still use gimmick names and stuff, but
I like a good gimmick name.
Nothing wrong with it, but I'm just like, I'm trying to find out, like, how do I know if something happened to that person? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know? Like today, like I don't even think I have a lot of people's actual like phone numbers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like
yeah,
there's
you
some
and I
people
were messaging on Instagram to get.
Yeah, like there's some people I text here and there from back in the day, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you my phone number after this. So
yeah,
you can hit me up if you could, in case anything goes wrong.
Yeah, you'd be like, is everything all right over there? You know?
Yeah.
But you know, like that's the thing now though. Like, you know, that's how people are getting booked now. It's like instead of AOL, it's like what, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, Twitter, right?
Yeah, totally.
You know,
that, and of course, go to a show. I mean, that's as you say, you reach out to them after later on, but of course, like the face to face is the irreplaceable thing.
But just like you know, I've seen so many guys show up to tryouts. I've seen guys, you know, try to like train and work for like 3 months and then you never hear from them again, you know?
Yeah.
Or you don't like life happens, like things happen, like their world changes. They got to move, you know?
I've definitely seen people, you know, at the Freelance Academy and the like. There's about 2 years I was actively training there, and I saw, it's amazing to see people come in. I see people come in day one and be like, I'm like, okay, with love, they suck. they're not going to make it in this industry. And then I've seen people come in who I was like, that person has no business being in a wrestling ring. And I'm not a mean guy, but I'm like, it's not going to work. And 5 months later, they are absolutely like blowing the doors off the place, like amazing. Some people are like on the roster now from there. And also you'll see people, I'm like, this person, they've got the look, they've got the swagger, they've got the instinct for it. Life gets in the way. One day I said, see you next practice, and I never saw him again. And I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, or they just don't have the heart for it, They're not passionate about it. Like,
sure, you gotta be.
I think when I first started, I was horrible. But what was different with me is like I never stopped coming back. And I just kept coming back and trying, and then eventually I got better. But I was always interested in like what other aspect can I get involved? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, what else can I help out with? So, like,
and what else were you doing before you? I mean, you said you refereed. Like, when did you get started, like, promoting?
So like, I would help referee. I would help do all the stuff, sell tickets, go put up flyer. Like, used to have to go flyer. Yeah, like that's how you got people to come to the shows. But yeah, like I did all of it, man. Flyers, selling tickets, helping out at the door, security. I think when I first started, I helped out just security, all different things, helped out with the websites and stuff. And then I think it was maybe like 3 or 4 years in, there was like a show like out of state or something like that. And I was asked like, hey, can you help like kind of keep an eye out on stuff, how the show's running, kind of help direct traffic and stuff like that. Yeah. So I like helped out on that show, and then that went pretty well. And I remember the shows we had locally, the trainer ended up working at the time for like, I went to Puerto Rico for a while, some stuff with TNA. So he wasn't around, but we still had the local promotion shows. Yeah. And me and another guy helped run the shows. And so like that's how I kind of just jumped into like helping book guys and, put stories, matches together and stuff. And then really like, but it was always like under the guidance of something, but like JWA, when we started that, like, like 10, 12 years ago. Yeah. The JWA has actually been around for a while, but it goes on hiatus and then, it's back. And, but when we first started, like that was the first time it was like me doing a lot of the booking, creating, putting the matches together. I like wrestled at the same time. So it was hard.
That sounds, I mean, I know people who do that, but usually there's going to be at least one other promoter there.
Yeah. It's just,
always, but yeah.
It's just like aggravating sometimes, like you're worrying about your own, but I always like called all my matches in the ring. So I never had to like rely on spots and stuff like that. So that kind of helped, but like, I like it now more in the last couple of years where I'm not performing. I'm just like coming up with like fun storylines and putting matches together and like stuff. And that's like that's craziness in itself. Yeah. Just doing that aspect. But I think it's good to have knowledge in every aspect of of the show. Yeah. Because what guys are going through, what it's like to be the new guy walking in asking, hey, I brought gear if anybody need, I like that. Yeah. Because like that's how I started. You know what I mean? So like I have a lot of respect and stuff for like guys that are just coming in looking for a spot. Yeah.
I'm looking at ring announcing. I want to try one time, managing, maybe commentating, although it's hard. That's demanding. I've never been at commentary, and I feel like
you should hop on some commentary. Is so fun, dude. Like and you're probably like, oh well, what's gonna happen, but there was a lot of times where there's certain guys in matches where I would say, like, don't tell me what you're gonna do for finish, because I didn't want to know.
You want
because I want the reaction.
You want authentic reaction. Totally.
Yeah. So a lot of times, like when you hear me on like a commentary and you hear me just going crazy or like, it's because I'm seeing it for the first time.
It sounds fun for that. The thing I always feel insecure about commentary, I can never remember what any of the moves are called. Like, he did a big old kind of a belly drop on the guy.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that's called, but it looked like it hurt.
Yeah, that's right. I think I'd probably be saying that a lot.
No, I rely on the other guys like Matt and Adam. Like, they know all the moves and stuff. Yeah. And like,
you bring the enthusiasm.
You'd think like I know all the moves and stuff because I worked, but like we called stuff different. Like, everybody's got their own names for stuff now. Like, I don't have the patience to remember all that. Like,
sure, man.
It's like, oh, someone says, oh, give me my, whatever 556 driver. And I'm like, tuck your chin. Is that all you're saying? Like, that's what I'm doing. Or I'll say, what is that again? And they'll tell me. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. That's not happening.
Yeah, that's not happening, buddy. That doesn't really work for me, brother.
But there's aspects of just like working in front of on shows, like working in front of a crowd, like that I miss,
Totally.
It's a lot of fun. And even like the little stints where I've gotten to get in the ring here and there just for some, teasing some stuff or just some gimmick, like a GM type thing is fun enough for me. I think it's fun,
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to just have fun with it and roll with it, but just be willing to help out with whatever, Yeah. But I see you doing that a lot, man. You're just like, that's what I liked about you is like, you showed up, you not only showed up, but you showed up early and you're like, what can I do? What else can I,
Sure.
What do we got going on? What else can I do? Like you're jumping right in,
It's definitely part of my training, and that's definitely the attitude that I am trying to bring. So yeah, that's just like, that's just how you get stuff done. And as I say, like that comes to me from other unrelated industries, but I think that's just how you get hired back. It's always like the goal is just like the goal in all these things for me, again, talking about parallels, is like you're doing the work so you can just get the opportunity to do more of the work. Like that's the thing. So yeah, well, that's kind of you to say though. About I'm glad that I feel seen and appreciated for that.
Well, that's just it. Like somebody was asking me the other day, like I knew somebody was like putting on a show and they hit me up and they're like, hey, what refs do you know that like what ref? I was like, dude, Ned.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to hit up Ned. See if he's free. Like,
dude, was that for a house show in Chicago?
Yes.
He hit me up, dude. I'm working that show.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
amazing, dude. Thanks for putting me onto that. Like, I appreciate it.
That's how it works,
Yeah.
But I'm like, who do I know that's cool, Because I know they're cool, and it's like, oh yeah. I'm like, if I have a good experience with somebody, I'm totally recommending them for something else, and even outside of wrestling, like people use me as a reference for a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, why wouldn't you use somebody cool for a reference that because like I know your character, I know how you work, I know you show up on time.
Yeah. This may not look like every other job, but it has some of the same constraints.
The same qualities as what you'd for a 9 to 5,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like why
respectful, he's timely, et cetera, et
cetera. Yeah. Well, like when I hear guys that like they no show or they're always constantly calling and canceling or something like that, or just like don't communicate well.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's fine. But good luck in the real world.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know how you're getting by.
Yeah, maybe you bring it all to that other world and not this one. But yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
People
but yeah,
in the industry, they can't handle that. Yeah.
So, dude, this was awesome. What other places though? Like, where do you tell people to find your stuff at? Like,
well, the website you were talking about is nedbakerthewebsite.com.
Yeah, we'll put a link to that in the notes for sure.
And that's always because there's a Ned Baker in Oregon who does real estate, and he got the email and he got the URL. So I have to catch up. But Ned Baker, the website, is where you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, which I think are probably my most active socials. It's at Ned.
I love that.
And
that's great.
Yeah, on TikTok it's at RefNed, but I hear TikTok's going away in like a week or so. So So we'll see if that sticks around.
It might go away. It might be back.
I'm expecting a dramatic reversal, I gotta say.
I feel like it's such an advertising platform right now.
Yeah.
Like businesses are advertising on it like crazy. Like, how can that just go away? That doesn't make any sense to me.
You're kind of right. If mucho dinero is flowing through it, we'll see how long the government tries to shut it down. We'll see. But at Ned, NED 4 times. That's me on most of my socials. And,
is that because that's what people chant when they see you at the show?
No, it's just it works that way though. I like that. Ned. Yeah, I like my unique name. I didn't like it when I was like 8 years old because kids would make fun of me, but now I'm like, yeah, shorts to the point. It's unique. It's me. It's that works for me. But yeah, that's where you can find me, and so. Yeah,
I think, and that's more, just like you say, like, oh, TikTok might shut down, that's the importance of like having your own space online, like your website, because if that link changes, you got to link to whatever other platform comes up next, like some people now, like they're on Twitter, they're on like Blue Sky, whatever,
Blue Sky, but
there's like, but there's like Threads, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you never know like how that industry or network's going to change or what the next
shifting landscape, man.
Like what's the next?
Now it'll look all different.
Yeah, what's the next Instagram going to be? That way, at least if people know your website or can search and find you online, they'll be able to find the link to that.
Totally.
So and I love that you have a YouTube channel too. Like that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody looks at it, but that's where I put my vlogs up there, my referee vlogs. I got my short films, I got my music videos, I got my weird little. I did a video where I drank I recorded every single Starbucks drink I had for like 4 years. That's all up there. I do 1 second every day. Do you know about this at all? Have you ever heard of 1 second every day?
No, what is this?
This is a video app. I take at least one video every day, except for like 5 to 10 days a year. I'll forget, and then you copy like 1 second of video for every day into this thing, and it montages it together. And I've done it like 8 years in a row. Those are all on my YouTube. You can watch 1 second from basically every day of my life.
Really?
I was 26. I'm 34 now.
Oh, wow. I like
fun,
that.
Dude. Let me show it to you next time I'm up in your hood. I'll pull it out of my phone and show you.
I'm gonna subscribe to the channel. I'm a big YouTube guy, man. I live on YouTube. I don't know if you do. Are you premium member? Like ad free's the way to go. If you're not,
I probably should be. No, I don't. I'm not premium on any of these things. But
dude, it'll change your whole life. It'll change the way.
You're right.
It'll change the way you watch videos. I swear. It's crazy.
Cool. Yeah, I got a handful of videos pulled up I was trying to watch later. And I will have a referee vlog. I'm working on one right now to sort of wrap up my last year that I'm going to hopefully put 2 of those. There's one that's sort of my like last 8 months recap and one that's just about when I went to Philly for WrestleMania week last year.
Oh, nice.
So I got some videos coming out soon that hopefully will be up there.
That's been one of my goals for this year. I always keep saying I'm going to vlog and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of my goals for this year is to start putting more stuff on YouTube and vlogging and stuff. Because I got just a lot of other interests and things that like people don't even know about.
Yeah, man.
So, but yeah, I want to get that out there for sure. But dude, you got at least one more subscriber.
Hell yeah, dude. That puts me up at probably 12 instead of 11.
There we go. But that's how it starts though. You gotta just get one at a time, man. It's it's a slow process.
True that.
It's dude. All right, man. Well, I'm so glad that we could connect on here today.
Yeah. Great chatting with you, Andy.
We'll definitely have you we'll check in with you again and see how things are going.
Awesome. Talk to you later, dude.
All right, man.
Peace.
I wanted to be loved. It's a cruel and crazy.